Thank you. Good morning, everyone. And happy Independence Day celebration to Nigerians in the room. Incidentally, I think 3 of us on the stage here are Nigerians, except for Marc, but I guess we can adopt Marc into our country. Well, good morning again. So we'll be talking about scaling renewable innovation, bridging the energy access gap with off-grid smart technologies. I think the MC already did an introduction, but just to give us a recap on what he said, we are going to be looking at the different innovations that have been developed to help with scaling renewable energy in order to bridge the clear energy access gap that we have in Africa. And I'll start off immediately with Mr. Ogbe here. You're from Levene, and I know Levene has been active in energy investment across Africa. What practical models have you seen that successfully blend commercial returns with expanding energy access?
Thank you very much. I think that from our experience as a Nigerian entity that started off as a trading company, we segued into the renewable space when we made a decision, I believe in 2019, in our search for funding for our upstream business. And the story back then was all around ESG and transition. And we didn't have a transition plan as it were at the time. And it looked very interesting at the time. We looked at gas distribution, which is another area of our businesses. And we secured about 230 kilometers of gas distribution franchises, which we are developing. And that would take, obviously, about 3-4 years to roll out. And so we thought, why not look at something more near-term, which is where we took a decision to invest in a solar manufacturing plant. And that experience has been very interesting for us. We think that the models, from our experience, the models that we think that work are models that take into consideration catchment areas and locations where you have institutions like schools, faith-based organizations, military bases, and the like. And you can create mini-grid clusters within that, and that allows you to serve the catchment communities who may otherwise not have been able to have access to energy, as it were. And the impact for us, I usually when we go to the board meetings, the question is that, why are you doing this? And I'm like, this is almost like an impact investment in a sense, because out of everything else that we do, there's nothing that goes all the way down the value chain as this does. So we believe that if you create an ecosystem where you can tie in solid off-takers for your project, so like I mentioned, we have this engagement with the Catholic Church who want to deploy solar in all of their institutions. And around those communities, you have off-takers, then you then have people that you can then tie into your mini-grid solutions. That would be great. It also helps a great deal if you include some form of support from, like we have a program where we are running now with the Rural Electrification Agency in Nigeria. It's called the DES program. It's backed by the World Bank. That helps you also have a sort of a blend of financing, because otherwise it becomes quite challenging for you to finance mini-grid solutions and wait for 5, 6, 7 years for you to see a return on that investment.
Thank you very much. Marc, I think I'll stick to AI with you mostly. And I think we by now, if you're not aware of AI, then I keep my comments. So I know you have been deploying AI. From a technology perspective, how do you think AI can assist with scaling in renewable energy?
Well, thank you for asking. I mean, well, AI, this is just more than a technology. I mean, this is what we believe at Microsoft. This is an enabler. We truly believe at Microsoft about the potential of renewable energies in Africa, and we believe that AI can be a way to unlock this potential. This is the way, I mean, AI has been super helpful by all renewables developers all over the world, and we believe that this can be the same in Africa. We've seen amazing use cases of AI at every step of a renewable project. Permitting, development, construction, operation of the project. And this is something that is happening today already in Africa with some of our customers.
Okay.
So that's great to witness that. There are some difficulties. This is not something that is, well, that's easier to put in place than it used to be. This is cheaper to put in place than it used to be. But there are some constraints. I mean, those things that, this is not the kind of thing that you can put in place just like that. But we are doing a lot to help African countries and African customers to improve the way they leverage AI in their operations. We've got also investments. We are very happy to support with our Climate Innovation Fund a bit more than a startup in Nigeria that is called Connexa. So that is maybe something that is familiar to you. So there's been some Microsoft investment in Connexa. Connexa helps to modernize grids and connect more renewable powers. So we are seeing that as Microsoft as being also part of our strategy to support the growth of renewables in Africa, not only with the technology that we're putting in place in the country, but also with investments that we're able to do in this or that kind of startups who have very niche or specialized activities.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Professor Omorogbe, you're an energy entrepreneur. What would you say are the challenges that you face in your business in terms of the development of renewable energy, especially across Africa and maybe specifically Nigeria?
Thank you very much for your question. Yeah. I think I'll just spend not more time than normal, but I'll just tell my story a little bit.
Please do.
SDG 7 is my concern. Okay. Ending poverty, energy, making it history. And this is because over time as an academic, I had come to see that energy makes a difference. It's a difference between life and death in anybody's life. And the reason the rural people are the way they are is actually because of the amount of energy at their disposal. And so I came in from that perspective. You look at Nigeria, half of Nigeria has a grid. The other half doesn't have the grid. That half exists on biomass. How do you get to these places? The gas infrastructure is next to nil in Nigeria, especially if you're not talking about huge customers. You can't get to the middle people. I can't get gas easily, not to talk of my communities. So renewables were the only solution and remain the only solution if that is your primary concern, which it was for me. And so I looked, and in a nutshell, the answer to your question, which I'll explain, is what are the biggest constraints and obstacles? One, it's ignorance. One, it's fear. One, it's the lack of money, and then it's finding the right community at this point in time. Now, in my case, I knew the numbers, I knew the research to an extent, and I did not fear the people. Many people fear the people and fear the rural areas, if we're to talk very frankly. I also believed in the value of research. So I'd read different things, but I was reading research from people who often hadn't been there. Many people in this area haven't gone. They send other people. So I did a bit of my own research in the communities that I wanted, and I was interested in starting in my own state, Edo State. And I came to see some things. I came to see that the communities are not the obstacle. It's those of us who want to get in to the communities that are the primary obstacle. And then secondly, like I say, the type of community you go into, especially at this point in time, is very important, especially since the fact is you will never solve SDG 7 as long as you take it as a charity. It has to be electricity that is given profitably, and there is no option to solar if you want to solve it anywhere. Drill, baby, drill, all you can. But until you get the gas down to one that can go around the common man, it will take it will take some time. So one, it's ignorance. We need to really get our facts right and realize that not every country is the same. Not every community is the same. What rural people are is unbanked people. They're not necessarily poor people. So we need to get out of that. We need to stop being fearful. They may not like the oil industry because it represents years of pollution and injustice and collusion with the government, but they don't react that way with renewable people. That is really the truth and has been our experience. And then money. We have the DARES program. It's great. I have applied for it. It's great, but it's money after you've spent your money. It's great to have some grant money early, and we were lucky that we got grant money early to help us a bit, so we didn't have to put in all our own money. And that was from the ESLA Foundation, which I will publicly acknowledge because they don't know where Africa is and know nothing about it. So money is very important. It's a big enabler. And then finding the right community. I know how to get the right communities that will actually be profitable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Mr. Ogbe, we talk about funding renewable energy projects. So if you're funding, we need to start looking at investors, start looking at private equity. So what role do you see private equity and strategic investors play in scaling renewable energy innovations across Africa?
So I think that they're one very solid source of financing for this space, because with the renewable space, unlike the oil space, your returns are not going to come immediately. You need to be patient, and you're also looking at getting energy to people who otherwise may not have been able to afford it. So it has to be sort of like a mix of different sorts of funding. So I think that private equity, which is patient capital to my mind, is very, very, very crucial to that whole space, and ensuring that we create energy access. And I keep going back to the fact that for me, as an organization, we think that this is sort of like a way of giving back, because the other businesses we could invest in within the value chain of oil and gas that would give us much bigger returns. But the big problem we have in a continent like Africa is access to education, healthcare, data. All of those things can happen without access to electricity or energy, as it were. And so making an investment in that space is crucial. And we are seeing more and more. We're having conversations with a number of private equity firms, and the response has been very good. Okay. It's just in structuring it appropriately so that you ensure that, because no one puts in their money and not expect a return, including ourselves. So yeah.
Okay. Just on top of that, yes. What about government funding? How do you see that playing in?
So government funding is also critical. I think that in a country like Nigeria, I came to South Africa very early in the day, in the mid-90s, and kept returning to South Africa severally. I loved it here. And I came on a trade delegation with the Power Ministry from Nigeria, I think in the 2007 or so. And I remember back then, Nigeria was generating something in the region of, I think, about 3,000 megawatts of power. Okay. South Africa was, I think, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere in the region of about 25,000, 30,000 megawatts. If you look at our population back then, it was South Africa's population. Today, grid power still in Nigeria is around 4,000 megawatts, 5,000 tops. South Africa is at 40,000, 45, probably more. And yet they're having load shedding issues. So you can imagine the gap that exists in this space. So government needs to take a step forward. Government needs to find ways in which they can add value. So I set up a manufacturing plant, for instance. It cost us several millions of dollars to do that. But I'm competing against China. Okay. China exports panels into Nigeria. They get 15% rebate from their country. If I import a panel fully manufactured out of China into Nigeria, I don't pay any duties. If I import components to manufacture a panel in Nigeria, I pay duties. It's a huge misnomer. So things like that, we need a lot of advocacy to get government to the table to ensure that there's an understanding of what the real needs are. And I think you cannot measure the value of energy across communities except you look at how it affects the young child who might not have access to education because they don't have access to power. And when you put all of that together, it is something that governments really, really need to sit up and look at.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you so much. Marc, I'm coming back to AI. For most African countries, we are still doing catch-up with AI. So we don't have enough regulatory structure for the deployment of AI. So how do you see these regulatory constraints in the development of AI for renewable energy innovations?
Well, thank you indeed. You've hit on a key challenge. But before answering your questions, I would like to come back to what you were saying about the communities. I love what you were saying about that and the need to have a different approach for the different communities. Yeah. I think this granularity is something essential to allow a decent access to power to everyone in Africa. And I believe that this can be, there can be of some help of data and AI technologies to do such a thing. But I think that's very important to hit on that question of communities. There's also, indeed, data sovereignty, connectivity. Those are hot topics in Africa. These are high challenges. They're not new. They're not very. There may be more of those constraints in some African countries, but it's been the same story all over Europe and many other countries in the world in the past. So those questions we at Microsoft we address them. We know that they exist, and if we believe that if our customers cannot bring their data to the cloud, we've got to bring the cloud to their data. That's as simple as that. I'm not a technical person, so I will not explain to you the magic behind it. But there are real people handling these kind of things. Plus, not only on top of the technologies we have to do such a thing, we are relying on a very dense and expert network of partners. We have in the room here in the conference a partner called Armada. Armada, this is a company that is deploying modular rugged data centers. So those data centers, they can be deployed on oil rigs, on solar farm in the middle of the desert, and they provide high-performance computing on location and use satellite links to our intermittent connectivity to sync with the main Azure cloud. So there's a wide range of solutions that can help our customer to get the benefits of AI, even though, and to fully respect the residency constraints or the connectivity constraints that our customers may have. Plus, and I want to insist on that as well, there is a need in Africa to focus more on cybersecurity. Cyber threats are huge all over the world, and we believe that the level of investment that we're seeing among our African customers on cybersecurity, should be improved or should be addressed at a different level. It comes with technology, that's obviously, but it comes also with a mindset and the desire to invest more and spend some more time on that issue. So, last, I want to say that we are also expanding our own infrastructure of data centers in Africa. We've got Azure regions in South Africa, and we are building with our partner G42 a brand new state-of-the-art data centers in Kenya. So that's going to be a new way for us to make sure that we can get the benefits of cloud and AI closer to our customers everywhere in Africa.
Thank you, Marc. And just on top of that, on cybersecurity, how real is the risk for areas that are, maybe lack of access to the internet? So can there be cybersecurity risks that are offline? that we can highlight here?
I mean, but you're very right. This is the most surprising thing, is that even when you've got an installation that is air-gapped, as we call it, so cut it from the internet, you're not immune to cyber threats. You may have collaborators who will come up with a USB key, and a USB key can do many damages in your air-gapped infrastructure or asset. So today, even if you have on-prem workloads, assets, you're not immune to cyber threats, and you need to address that. We need to step up on that challenge of cybersecurity. This is real. The damages can be immense. I mean, the impact can be huge. You may have seen what has happened to Land Rover and Jaguar over the past weeks that's insane. I mean, what has happened. So I really believe that we need a wake-up call to make sure that this is properly addressed everywhere in Africa.
Okay, thank you very much. Professor Omorogbe, earlier you mentioned that some of these communities are not poor, they are unbanked, they are just unbanked. So how can you strike the balance between affordability of renewable energy solutions in these underserved communities and building financially sustainable business in those communities?
Thank you very much. The first thing you do when you want to go into a community and you want it to be profitable is to make sure that you go into a community that is already using diesel or fuel, that where you have people that are already using generators. This is because the cost of renewables will always be, at least in Nigeria, I don't know about another country, but renewables are by far cheaper than using generators. And so for those people, the person with a small business, the person with a hotel, with a fast food joint, the different places that use electricity will always come back and utilize the light. So that helps us to a great extent. The other thing we find, and this is related, a lot of people don't realize two things which I have discovered definitely from my research. We're in 4 communities, 3 are owned and managed by us completely. The 4th one is Seplat Energy, asked us to build it for one of their communities. We're building, managing, and we will give it back to Seplat. And I think that is great, and I honor them wherever they are, because I think it's great for the oil industry to be there. But what you do find is that there are 2 things about light which people don't understand. One, is very addictive. Once you have light, you want it. Secondly, it is a magnet. In our medium community, I did a small, medium, large. In our medium community, people are moving into the community. People are buying land in the community because we have light there 20 to 22 hours in that community. Nigeria has no light, so down the road, the people in the cities find that there's this little village with better light. So they're even telling me, come and buy land here. So you find that if you go to certain communities, they need to desire the light. They need to have known it before you. There need to be generators already in use there. There needs to be a level of security around, so they need to welcome you. So once you have these things in place, you can go in. The fact that they have been using generators before will help. When you go to the ones that haven't, it's a bit harder. So my smallest community is a harder community, but I'm fine. I have a gut feeling because down the road from them, they have fantastic clear blue water. So I think it's going to be an eco center. But, the way to strike a balance is to go to the place that needs you and that already knows electricity. And just 1 minute to say that the only issues I have had with my communities, and that's the medium and the large, is that the light is not enough. We went to try and do a CSR project in the medium community. They pretended they were going to see us and talk to us. We got there and found the people we wanted to see were not there. They didn't call in the women into the place. And they said, oh no, please just take this letter back to your CEO. And my letter was expand the grid. Thank you very much, but expand the grid. And we did that. Our only quarrels have to do with the light not being enough, nothing more.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Just before I leave you, ma'am, so we've identified some of these issues. when we're looking at the regulators, and Nigeria has in recent times, rolled out new regulations for the power industry. How do you see this helping in scaling renewable energy, especially for those communities?
I think it's too soon to say, but let me say that it's so far a pleasant surprise. At the federal level, they're very welcoming. At the state level, at my state level, they're unbelievably welcoming. They haven't done anything yet. I mean, I'm trying to fill in forms. I can't fill in forms. I'm trying to apply. I can't. There's no infrastructure, but they're just great right now. They're in learning mood. So I think at the end of the day, it will work out. But the truth is, right now, there is too much uncertainty. The jury is still out, but the signs are pleasurable.
Yes, great. I guess the open market in electricity now can help with the state electricity regulations in time. I mean, it still is the infancy state, like you mentioned, trying to implement the Electricity Act of 2024. Sure. Yes, and then the regulations that have been issued by NERC in recent times. So just to hear some final thoughts from all of you, and I'll start with you, Mr. Ogbe.
Thank you. I think, like I've said persistently, Africa can only industrialize or grow when we address the energy deficits that we experience in the continent. Like I said, a country like Nigeria with excess of 200 million people, grid power still at 5,000 megawatts. It's unthinkable. That can, I mean, and you wonder why. And you have a very young population who are sucking up data like nothing else, and you cannot address the challenges and the needs of that generation without power. And I think that it's achievable. I mean, I'm very proud of our investment, having moved, like I said, from oil and gas. We still have that business ongoing, taking our resources from there, investing. My brother Bolaji is here. He was talking to me. He has a big push on carbon trading. The more people become aware of this, the more investments would come into these zones that not only reach the people that, I mean, of course, diesel displacement is a no-brainer. Everyone, even the rich now, are crying back at home in Nigeria because tariffs have gone a lot higher, cost of diesel is a lot higher. Solar is great. We believe that a hybrid system works more efficiently, hence our investment in the gas distribution as well, because there'll be times when you may not have enough sunlight, or in some regions, a place like Calabar, Cross River State, where I come from, it rains for 8 months of the year, so you're not going to get much power there. So there's a need for active, deliberate investment in this area. I think a lot more oil and gas companies should look at this as CSR. Madam mentioned Seplat there, who are doing stuff. New Cross, I believe, are doing stuff in that space as well. There's a need for more than that. And then there's a need for a lot of engagement with the governments to ensure that they understand that, this is a critical sector and needs to be addressed.
Thank you. Marc?
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Odi. What I would like to leave the audience with is that AI for energy in Africa is real, and it's now. I mean, this is not, I'm not talking about sci-fi. There's all of our customers in Africa, all countries in Africa, they can have access to the same AI technology as all other renewables company in the world. The regulatory constraint doesn't mean technological constraints. There are solutions. I mentioned Armada among them. There's one key thing, though, that is about training. I mean, AI needs people. That's it. We're talking about co-pilots. We're not talking about AI in the driving seat. We're talking about AI helping people to do more. And so training is going to be absolutely key. Skilling is going to be absolutely key. We proud ourselves at Microsoft to have a very large training initiative in South Africa. We have offered to train 1 million people by 2026 on AI and cybersecurity. We want to do more on that field, and we believe that those training and skillings, they are absolutely key for the young engineers and all engineers in the renewable and the energy business in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Marc. Professor.
Thank you very much. I think I'll build on what you said, Marc, and say that definitely the mini-grid industry runs on technology. And that has been very helpful for us. It's cashless. There is zero theft of electricity, and that has been aided. So I can only see advances helping us very much in that area. I'd say that if you're talking about solving the world's problems, apart from feeling good, I mean, a lot of people go into renewables just to feel good, but you can go in, do work in these areas, actually helping communities to improve themselves by investing in this area. And I mean meaningful money. There very often is not meaningful money, and I think a lot of this is driven by a lack of understanding. Those who really understand and would give the money don't know much about what is happening in the terrain right here. We've been able to do 4 grids, like I've said, in a really short period of time, comparatively speaking. We started in 2022, and we have a whole pipeline of projects. I can see that it's promising not just for myself, but other people that are in this space, because we've been able to crack some nuts, we've been able to unravel some puzzles, but there's still a lot that needs to be done. I honestly believe that don't let me say wedding, a cooperation between oil and non-oil, or what I call carbon and decarbonization, is very, very essential. And I keep on saying that. You can do the two. And part of that is ensuring that when you talk gas, you really mean gas for everybody, down to myself and down to the other people. Because I would like, it rains all the time in Cross River. It rains to an extent in Edo. We'd really love our grids to be up by having natural gas as a backup fuel. It just negates everything about us to now have a diesel generator. But to get the natural gas as a backup fuel is impossible, because in Nigeria, we don't have that. We don't have little cylinders that we can. There is not the market for retail gas. So we really should understand that when we're talking about a lot of talking about gas, utilized gas, the decade of gas, 2020 to 2030, nothing has happened as regards retail gas. If you do have that, then we'll have a beautiful, beautiful merger, because yes, it is I think the world is seeing that gas is a transition fuel in spirit and in truth. And that will actually help us so that we can really work with these communities. There's a lot of data. The minute you realize what's happening in some of these communities, you will be very, very surprised. So I just say there has to be a bit more communication. So I welcome places like this, where one can talk and interact with the people who understand energy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So everyone, did you want to say something, Marc?
No,
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I mean, we are doing well with time, but I think today has shown that there's a lot that we need to do with renewable energy, in scaling renewable energy across Africa. And what we need, probably strong regulatory presence, strong investment. We need to look at it. And of course, like Professor Yinka mentioned, understanding the communities. It probably might be the start.
And money. Why do you forget that? That's what drives it.
Yes, definitely, and money. And that's where investment comes in.
Yeah.
Government support in terms of funding, private equity funding, and all that will be required in getting renewable energy to where we need it to be. And of course, we need to also look at CSRs, like you mentioned earlier, and Mr. Ogbe, a CSR from oil companies, from ourselves, to see that there's a way for us to bring these communities up to speed, to give them access to light and bridge this energy access gap. Of course, you mentioned training in AI. Because I think that's very important. Cybersecurity is a big issue, especially in Africa. So we need to train people. People need to understand how this works. And I think for companies like yours can help us in doing that. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for everyone for being part of us today. I hope you've taken something from here. Please do connect with everybody, with everyone on the stage now, and hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.